Every day you choose comfort over authenticity. You're committing suicide in slow motion. And the most tragic part is that you think you're being responsible when you're actually being a coward who's too afraid to disappoint people who don't even know the real you. 3 out of 4 adults report feeling like they're living someone else's life, which means the overwhelming majority of human beings have become strangers to themselves, walking through life wearing masks that have become so permanent they've forgotten there's a face underneath. You've spent so many years asking, what will they think, instead of what do I think, that you've lost the ability to make decisions based on your own values, preferences, and desires. Your primitive brain has convinced you that your comfort zone is a safety zone, but it's actually a danger zone where dreams go to die and potential gets buried under layers of shoulds, musts, and have-tos. The person you were meant to be is being murdered by the person you think you're supposed to be. And every day you delay reclaiming your authentic self is another day stolen from the only life you'll ever get. There comes a moment in every person's life when they stop in the middle of their perfectly planned day and ask themselves a question that cuts through their soul like a knife. Who have I become? It happened to me 20 years ago on a Tuesday morning at 7:43 a.m. I was standing in my expensive bathroom, wearing a suit that cost more than most people make in a week, staring at a stranger in the mirror. The man looking back at me had everything I thought I wanted: success, money, recognition, respect. But his eyes were empty, dead. That man was me, and I had no idea how I got there. The statistics are shocking, and they should shake you to your core. Research shows that 89% of people feel disconnected from their true purpose. Nearly 3 out of 4 adults report feeling like they are living someone else's life. Think about that for a moment. 3 out of 4 people you meet today are walking through life wearing a mask, playing a role, being someone they never intended to become. They wake up each morning and put on a costume of who they think they should be instead of celebrating who they really are. This is not a problem that happens overnight. You don't go to bed as yourself and wake up as a stranger. It's a slow, gradual process that happens so quietly, so subtly, that most people never notice until it's almost too late. It starts with small compromises. You take a job that pays well but crushes your spirit because you need the money. You agree with opinions you don't share because you want to fit in. You say yes when you mean no because you don't want to disappoint people. Each compromise feels reasonable in the moment. Each decision seems logical and necessary. But here's what happens. Every time you choose what others expect over what you feel is right, you lose a small piece of yourself. Every time you silence your inner voice to please the crowd, that voice gets a little quieter. Every time you act against your values for approval or money or security, you build a prison around your authentic self. One day you wake up and realize you can barely hear that voice anymore. You've become a stranger to yourself. Let me tell you about Maria, a brilliant architect I worked with 3 years ago. At 38, Maria had achieved everything her parents dreamed of for her. She worked for a prestigious firm, designed buildings that would stand for centuries, lived in a beautiful home, drove a luxury car. Her bank account was impressive. Her professional reputation was spotless. Her life looked perfect from the outside, but Maria came to me because she was crying herself to sleep every night and didn't know why. I should be happy, she told me during our first meeting. I have everything I worked for, everything everyone said would make me successful, but I feel like I'm drowning in someone else's life as we talked. I learned that Maria never wanted to be an architect. Her real passion was teaching children. She loved working with kids, helping them learn and grow. But her family convinced her that teaching didn't pay enough, wasn't prestigious enough, wouldn't give her the security she needed. So Maria studied architecture because it was practical. She got good grades because she was smart. She got hired by a top firm because she was talented. She climbed the career ladder because she was ambitious. And step by step, year by year, she moved further away from the person she really was until She couldn't find her way back. How do you know if this is happening to you? There are 3 warning signs that you've lost touch with your authentic self. And if you recognize them, consider this your wake-up call. First, you feel constantly exhausted even when you're not physically tired. This isn't the good kind of tired you feel after working hard on something you love. This is soul exhaustion. It's the fatigue that comes from forcing yourself to be someone you're not, day after day, year after year. Your body is rebelling against living a lie. Second, nothing excites you anymore. You used to have things that made your eyes light up, activities that made you lose track of time, dreams that gave you energy. Now everything feels like work. Everything requires effort. You've lost that spark, that enthusiasm, that sense of possibility that made you feel alive. Third, you're living for other people's approval instead of your own satisfaction. Every decision you make is filtered through the question, what will they think, instead of what do I think? You've become an actor in your own life, constantly performing for an audience instead of being authentic. This pattern affects high achievers and ambitious people more than anyone else. Why? Because we're taught that success means sacrifice. We're told that if we want to achieve great things, we have to give up being ourselves. We learn to override our instincts, ignore our feelings, and push through our doubts. We become masters at forcing ourselves to do things we don't want to do. The cost of this disconnection is enormous. People who lose touch with their authentic selves suffer from higher rates of depression, anxiety, and stress illness. Their relationships suffer because they can't be genuine with others when they're not being genuine with themselves. They achieve external success, but feel empty inside. They have everything they thought they wanted, but none of what they actually need. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is crucial. You are not broken. You are not lost forever. You have not gone too far to come back. The person you really are is still there, underneath all the layers of conditioning and compromise and fear. That authentic self is waiting for you to remember, to reconnect, to come home to who you were always meant to be. The fact that you feel this disconnection, this longing, this sense that something is missing, that's not a sign of failure. That's your inner wisdom calling you back to yourself. That uncomfortable feeling you have when you're pretending to be someone else, that's your authentic self refusing to stay buried. That voice in your head that whispers, "This isn't me," listen to it. It's trying to save your life. Now that you understand what it feels like to lose yourself, you need to understand why it happens. Because once you know the enemy, you can defeat it. Once you see the traps, you can avoid them. The truth is, losing yourself isn't an accident. It's the predictable result of forces that have been shaping you since the day you were born. It starts in childhood, long before you even know who you are, from the moment you take your first breath. Well-meaning adults begin telling you how to behave. Good children don't cry. Nice girls don't get angry. Smart boys don't play with toys. Successful people don't take risks. Layer by layer, rule by rule, they teach you that love and acceptance come with conditions. You learn that being yourself isn't enough. You have to be what others want you to be. Your parents don't do this on purpose. They love you and want the best for you, but they're passing down the same programming they received from their parents who got it from their parents. It's a chain of conditioning that goes back generations. They teach you to value other people's opinions more than your own feelings. They reward you for compliance and punish you for authenticity. Without meaning to, they train you to become a stranger to yourself. School makes it worse. The education system is designed to create conformity, not creativity. Students who color inside the lines get praise. Students who ask different questions get told to sit down. The message is clear. Fitting in matters more than standing out. Being normal is safer than being real. So you learn to hide your uniqueness and emphasize your similarities to everyone else. Society takes over where school leaves off. Every advertisement, every movie, every social media post tells you how you should look, what you should want, how you should live. The message is constant and overwhelming. You are not enough as you are. You need to be thinner, richer, more successful, more popular. You need to buy this product, follow this trend, live this lifestyle. The real you gets buried under layers of shoulds and musts and have-tos. Your career becomes the final nail in the coffin of your authentic self. You choose a profession based on what pays well, not what fulfills you. You climb ladders that are leaning against walls you never wanted to scale. You spend 40 hours a week pretending to care about things that bore you, working toward goals that mean nothing to you, solving problems that don't matter to you. You become so good at being someone else at work that you forget who you are everywhere else. Technology makes the problem worse than ever before. Social media turns your life into a performance where everyone is watching and judging. You post pictures of fake happiness to get likes from people you barely know. You measure your worth by followers and comments instead of by how you feel about yourself. You live your life through a lens, literally and figuratively, always asking, how will this look to others, instead of how does this feel to me? The comparison trap becomes inescapable. Every day you see hundreds of people living lives that look more exciting, more successful, more fulfilling than yours. You don't see their struggles, their doubts, their private moments of despair. You only see their highlight reels, and you compare them to your behind-the-scenes reality. You start believing that everyone else has figured out life except you. Everyone else is happy except you. Everyone else is living authentically except you. Fear drives most of these bad decisions. You're afraid that if people see the real you, they won't like what they find. You're afraid that if you pursue what truly matters to you, you'll fail and prove that you're not good enough. You're afraid that if you stop trying to please everyone, you'll end up alone. So you choose the safety of being fake over the risk of being real. Relationships suffer when you lose yourself. You attract people who like your mask, not your face. You build friendships based on who you pretend to be, not who you actually are. When you try to be authentic, these relationships feel strained because people expected you to stay the same. Some people in your life have a vested interest in keeping you small, keeping you confused, keeping you playing a role that serves their needs instead of yours. The gradual shift is so subtle that most people never notice it happening. One day you're a child with dreams and opinions and preferences. The next day you're an adult who can't remember what you actually want because you've spent so many years focusing on what others want from you. You've become an expert at reading other people's needs and terrible at recognizing your own. But here's what you must understand. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking free from them. Once you see how you got lost, you can find your way back home to yourself. Finding yourself again is like archaeology. You have to dig through layers of conditioning, expectations, and fear to uncover the person who was always there underneath. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to be different. The first step is values clarification. Most people live by borrowed values, beliefs they inherited from parents, absorbed from culture, or adopted to fit in. You need to separate what truly matters to you from what you think should matter to you. Take out a piece of paper and write down everything you currently say you value: money, success, family, security, achievement. Now ask yourself the hard question. Do I actually care about this, or do I think I'm supposed to care about this? Who says they care about this, or do I think I'm supposed to care about this? Here's a simple test. When you think about spending time on this value, do you feel energized or drained? If the thought of pursuing what you claim to value makes you feel tired before you even start, it's probably not really your value. It's someone else's value that you've been carrying around like borrowed clothes that don't fit. Next, conduct a childhood dreams audit. Before adults convinced you to be practical, what made your eyes light up? What did you want to be when you grew up? What activities made you lose track of time? I'm not saying you should quit your job to become an astronaut, But these childhood dreams contain clues about your authentic nature. They show you what excited you before fear took over. The energy audit is crucial. Pay attention to your energy levels throughout the week. Which activities drain you? Which ones energize you? Your body doesn't lie. When you're doing something that aligns with your authentic self, you feel energized even when you're working hard. When you're forcing yourself to be someone you're not. You feel tired even when you're not doing much. Try the 5-year-old test. If you met a 5-year-old version of yourself, what would that child think of your current life? Would they be excited about what you've become? Would they recognize you? Children are naturally authentic because they haven't learned to hide who they are yet. Your inner child knows who you really are, underneath all the masks. Understand the difference between personality and character. Personality is how you act in public. Character is who you are when nobody's watching. Personality can be faked. Character cannot. Focus on developing your character, your core values, your integrity, your authentic responses to life. Let your personality flow naturally from your character instead of the other way around. You need solitude to hear your inner voice. In our noisy, connected world, we're rarely alone with our thoughts. We fill every quiet moment with podcasts, music, social media, or television. But your authentic self speaks in whispers, not shouts. You need quiet time to hear what you really think, feel, and want. Start with just 10 minutes a day of complete silence. No input, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. Start journaling, but not the way most people do it. Don't write about what happened, write about who you are. Ask yourself questions on paper. What do I really want? What makes me feel most alive? If I could live anywhere and do anything, what would that look like? Write without editing. Let your thoughts flow freely. Your authentic self will start speaking through your pen. Learn to say no without explanation. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values, you say no to something that does. Practice saying, that doesn't work for me. I'm not available. That's not a good fit. You don't owe anyone a detailed explanation for protecting your authentic self. The most important thing to remember is that your authentic self isn't broken and doesn't need fixing. It just needs uncovering, like a sculptor removing excess marble to reveal the statue that was always there. You need to remove the excess expectations, fears, and borrowed dreams to reveal the person you were always meant to be. Knowing who you are is only half the battle. The other half is having the courage to become that person in the real world. This is where most people fail. They do the inner work, they discover their authentic self, but then they try to squeeze that self back into their old life. It doesn't work. You can't put new wine in old wineskins. You need to rebuild your life around who you really are. Start with boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're gates to let the right things in. You need to protect your authentic self from the constant pressure to be someone else. This means saying no to requests that drain your energy. It means refusing to participate in conversations that compromise your values. It means limiting time with people who make you feel like you have to perform instead of just being yourself. Your career deserves special attention because you spend so much of your life working. If your job requires you to violate your values or pretend to be someone you're not, you have 3 options. Change your role, change your approach, or change your job. I know this sounds scary. You have bills to pay and responsibilities to meet. But here's what I've learned after 30 years of helping people. You can't build authentic success on an inauthentic foundation. Start small. You don't have to quit tomorrow. Begin by bringing more of your authentic self to your current role. Speak up in meetings when you have something valuable to contribute. Suggest solutions that align with your values. Build relationships with colleagues who appreciate the real you. Sometimes the problem isn't the job itself, it's how you've been approaching it. Evaluate your relationships honestly. Some people in your life love the real you. Others love the role you play for them. The authentic you will attract authentic people and repel inauthentic ones. This isn't always comfortable, but it's necessary. You can't build a genuine life surrounded by people who require you to be fake. Don't expect everyone to celebrate your transformation. Some family members and friends will resist your changes because they preferred you when you were easier to control or when you made them feel better about their own lack of authenticity. Their resistance isn't about you, it's about their own fears and insecurities. Stay compassionate, but don't compromise your growth to make others comfortable. Create daily habits that reflect your true priorities. If creativity matters to you, schedule creative time every day. If fitness is important, make movement non-negotiable. If learning excites you, commit to growing every single day. Your daily habits are votes for the type of person you want to become. Make sure you're voting for your authentic self. The gradual approach works better than dramatic changes. Your brain and your environment need time to adjust. If you try to change everything at once, you'll create so much resistance that you'll snap back to your old patterns. Instead, make one authentic choice each day. Take one small step toward the life you want. Trust that small changes compound into big transformations. Handle money fears with planning, not panic. Yes, living authentically might require financial adjustments. You might earn less initially while you transition to work that aligns with your values. Plan for this, save money, reduce expenses, build a transition fund. But don't let financial fear keep you trapped in an inauthentic life forever. The cost of living a lie is always higher than the cost of living your truth. Create accountability systems that support your authentic self. Find people who knew you before you lost yourself and ask them to remind you who you really are when you start slipping back into old patterns. Work with a coach or counselor who understands the importance of authenticity. Join groups of people who are on similar journeys. Remember that every authentic choice makes the next one easier. Each time you choose truth over approval, reality over image, authenticity over acceptance, you build the muscle of being yourself. Authenticity is a practice, not a destination. Let me tell you about David, a man who lost himself so completely that he didn't even know his own favorite color. When David came to me 2 years ago, he was 45 years old and had been living someone else's life for so long that he couldn't remember what his own dreams looked like. He was a successful insurance executive who hated his job, married to a woman who loved the image he projected but not the man behind it, living in a house that impressed neighbors but felt like a prison to him. David's wake-up call came during his daughter's 8th birthday party. She asked him what his favorite color was for an art project they were working on together. David opened his mouth to answer and realized he had no idea. He had spent so many years asking other people what they wanted, what they preferred, what they thought was best, that he had stopped having opinions of his own. He stood there in his expensive kitchen, surrounded by all the symbols of his success, and couldn't answer a simple question from his own child. That night, David began the process we've been talking about. He started with the archaeology of self-discovery. He found old journals from college and was shocked to read about a young man who wanted to be a teacher, who loved working with his hands, who dreamed of building furniture and teaching kids how to create things. That young man had been buried under 20 years of practical decisions and other people's expectations. The values clarification was painful but necessary. David realized that almost everything he said he valued, financial security, professional status, material possessions, were actually his father's values. His real values were creativity, connection, and contribution. He valued making things with his hands more than making money with his mind. He valued deep relationships more than impressive networking. He valued helping people grow more than helping companies profit. The energy audit revealed the truth his body had been trying to tell him for years. Insurance work drained him completely. By Wednesday of every week, he felt exhausted. But when he spent weekends in his garage building small pieces of furniture or helping his daughter with her school projects, he felt energized and alive. His body was giving him clear signals about what aligned with his authentic self and what didn't. David's reconstruction phase took 18 months, and it wasn't easy. He started by setting boundaries at work, refusing to take on projects that violated his values. He began saying no to social obligations that felt like performances. He started spending more time in his garage, turning his hobby into a side business, building custom furniture for friends and neighbors. The resistance from his family was intense. His wife accused him of having a midlife crisis. His father told him he was being irresponsible. His colleagues thought he was losing his edge. But David had tasted authenticity, and he couldn't go back to the fake life he'd been living. He knew that staying in his inauthentic life would kill his spirit completely. The financial transition was carefully planned. David saved money for 2 years while building his furniture business on weekends. He reduced his family's expenses and had honest conversations with his wife about what really mattered to them. When his custom furniture business was generating enough income to cover their basic needs, David left the insurance company and never looked back. Today, David runs a successful furniture workshop where he also teaches woodworking classes to teenagers and adults. He makes less money than he did as an insurance executive, but he's never been happier or more fulfilled. His relationship with his daughter has deepened because she sees him living authentically, and it gives her permission to be herself. His marriage improved when his wife realized she preferred the real David to the fake one, even if it meant fewer expensive vacations. But David's story doesn't end with finding himself. It continues with maintaining himself. Because the forces that pulled him away from authenticity the first time are still out there. Society still pressures him to value money over meaning. Family members still sometimes question his choices. Old patterns of people-pleasing still surface during stressful times. David has developed systems to stay connected to his authentic self. Every quarter, he does a life review where he asks himself, am I still living according to my values? Are my daily actions reflecting my true priorities? Do I feel energized by my life or drained by it? These regular check-ins help him catch himself before he drifts too far from his authentic path. He's learned that authenticity isn't a destination you reach and then you're done. It's a daily practice of choosing truth over comfort, reality over image, substance over appearance. Some days it's easy. Other days it requires courage. But every day it requires consciousness, the awareness, to notice when you're starting to live for others instead of living for yourself. David now mentors other men who are struggling to find themselves again. He tells them what I'm telling you. The world doesn't need another fake version of someone else. The world needs the real version of you. Your authentic self is your greatest gift to everyone around you. When you live authentically, you give other people permission to do the same. Your children need to see you living courageously so they learn that it's possible. Your friends need to see you being real so they don't feel so alone in their own struggles with authenticity. Your community needs your unique talents and perspectives, not a watered-down version of what you think they want. The ripple effect of one person living authentically spreads further than you can imagine. Every time you choose to be real instead of fake, you make it easier for someone else to make the same choice. Every time you live according to your values instead of others' expectations, you show someone else that it's possible. Your authentic self has been waiting patiently for you to come home. It's time to stop being a stranger to yourself. It's time to stop living someone else's life. It's time to remember who you really are and have the courage to become that person fully. The world is waiting for what only you can give. Don't keep us waiting any longer.